Call to order the City of Winter Haven's commission meeting for this the 27th day of October 2025 at 6 p.m. Can we get a roll call, please?
Commissioner Dollison.
Here.
Commissioner Mercer. Here. Commissioner Dantzler.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Yates.
Here.
And Mayor Birdsong.
Here. We will have invocation by Pastor Phillips from the Bridge Church. And then we're going to be led in the Pledge of Allegiance by the Junior Marine ROTC Corps. Please stand if able.
Forward, march, left, right. Color guard, pull.
All right, let us pray. Lord, we thank you for your goodness, just for your mercies that's made new every morning. And I just pray for our leaders here. I pray that you would continue to give them wisdom far beyond their years. Give them a heart to see and eyes to see what needs to be seen, a heart of understanding. And I just thank you for that. I pray for favor over their lives and over their children's lives. And you just get the glory for everything that's going down here. And we'll be careful to give you the glory for it. In Jesus' name, amen.
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 Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Carry, colors. Ready, cut. Forward, march. Left, right. Right.
All right. We have a presentation.
Hard thing about it is I see them all black. Good evening, Honorable Mayor and City Commissioners. We have one proclamation for this evening. This is in recognition of U.S. Marine Week. And we have, looks like, a number of our Marines with us, so I invite them to, with George Sidler, Marine Commandant, the Marine Corps League, come forward to the podium while I read the proclamation. Whereas on November 10th, 1775, in Philadelphia, the Second Continental Congress adopted two resolutions raising 2 battalions of Marines, which was drafted by future U.S. President John Adams. The U.S. States Marine Corps we know today was reestablished formally on July 11th, 1798. However, November 10th, 1775 is still considered to be the birthday of the U.S. Marine Corps. This year marks 250 years of service to our country. And since that time, the Marines have stood first to fight for right and freedom and have fought in every clime and place as mentioned in the Marines hymn. And whereas across our region, there are numerous members who have served in the Marine Corps and Marine Corps Reserve. And whereas Marines have continued to serve and make our city strong through organizations like the Marine Corps League, the Young Marines, the Junior Reserve Officer Training Corps, or JROTC, their direct contribution continues to be of a positive impact on our society. And whereas you can find Marines as government and community leaders, police officers, firefighters, teachers, and in any walk of life. And whereas the City of Winter Haven, Florida is committed to honoring its United States Marine Corps veterans and their roles as citizens of our community. Now, therefore, Nathaniel J. Birdsong, Jr., Mayor of the City of Winter Haven, Florida, does hereby proclaim November 10th through November 14th, 2025 as United States Marine Corps Week in the City of Winter Haven, and we encourage citizens to learn the history and traditions of the Marines. In witness whereof he is hereunto set his hand and caused the seal of the City of Winter Haven, Florida, to be affixed this 27th day of October, 2025. Signed, Nathaniel J. Birdsong, Jr., Mayor. Attest, Vanessa Castillo, City Clerk.
start by saying that I can now put my little speech away because you covered everything that I had in this.
My apologies, but feel free to reiterate.
We all know, for the most part, the history of the Marine Corps. It's long, it's rich, and it's something that is held personal by every one of these people that are here. So I'll cut to the chase here. One thing that I did want to go ahead and cover, if you would please, if I could get the Marines, come on up here, please. The Marines that you see here in front of you are representative of some of our programs, because there's a lot of people that are in the community that are not as familiar with what the Marine Corps League is and what we do specifically for the community, for our communities. So what I've asked them to do, and you can time them, but I told them, I says, nobody gets more than 30 seconds. So they're up. So this is the Marine Corps League that you see before you. Everyone that's dressed like I am. Shortly after World War I, it was noted that there was 40 different organizations of veterans that felt the need to remain loyal to one another and the Corps. And in 1923, the then Commandant Major General John Lejeune organized them all into an organization that eventually was called the Marine Corps League. And in 1937, it became the only Marine veterans organization to be chartered by an act of Congress. Today, there's over 1,200 detachments around the world, boasting well over 70,000 active, retired, and veteran Marines, as well as FMF Navy personnel, such as chaplains and corpsmen. All volunteers, all an active part of every community across the country. What I then would like to go ahead and do is I will just kick it off. Like I said, we're holding it to 30 seconds. So I would like to just start off. My one representative couldn't be here that dealt with Toys for Tots. Everyone here, I'm sure, has heard Toys for Tots. Our program, just in case you hadn't been aware, we are the sponsors for the Polk County Toys for Tots. Last year alone, we provided over 800 man-hours to Toys for Tots, and that's everything from the warehouse to the pickup to the deliveries, all the boxes that you see that everyone's doing. On that note, I would like to go ahead and turn this then. Wally, if you would, sir.
Yes, sir. My name is Wally Ballard. I represent the Young Marines. We've been here before. We cover children between the ages of 8 and 18 that have to be in high school. And what the adult volunteers do is we teach them the Marine Corps traditions. We teach them leadership, drug awareness, and physical fitness.
Good evening. My name is James Snell. I'm the chairman of the scholarship committee. Marine Corps League has their own scholarship program. It will cover the Marines' children, grandchildren, great-grandchildren. We have those great-great-grandchildren. It's all part of taking care of our own.
Good evening. I'm Larry Adrian, Senior Vice Commandant of this detachment. I'm here on behalf of Scott Van Grohl, who's our chairman for the Scouts of America, specifically the Eagle Scout Award. This is specifically designed to honor those who have achieved the rank of Eagle Scout. This is a program that is continually going through the year and every year, and we're proud to be a part of it.
I am Sergeant Major Brady. I'm also a member of the League. I am one of the instructors at Lake Region High School for the Marine Corps program. Just for us, just to give you what we did last year, we raised $8.5 million in scholarships. We sent two young cadets to the University of USF for a Marine Corps program to be Marine officers when they graduate. We also sent a young lady to Duke University on a Navy scholarship to be a doctor. We sent 5 cadets to a Navy program to be Navy nurses. We sent 14 cadets to the military last year. We are also part of the Toys for Tots. We actually raised 185 bikes last year for the Toys for Tots program, which is getting ready to kick off the Toys for Tots for our school. So if you'd like to donate a bike, please send it to Sergeant Major Brady at Lake Region High School. We will gladly accept it. And those are young cadets that are in our program. Lieutenant Hernandez, please stand up. She is our commanding officer of the program. The other young ladies are my color guard. They're all female. I've had female color guard for the last 5 or 6 years. They do a great job. They are all, most of them are seniors who are getting ready to graduate. 2 has already joined the Marine Corps, so they're all doing great things.
My name's Doug Hughes. I'm actually a retired Navy chaplain, and they allowed me to join the Corps. I spent 6 years with the Marines. I did Desert Storm with 2-5, so they bring me in anyway. But my job as the chaplain for the league is to coordinate all the volunteer services that we do in connection with both the VA and other places. But for us, the VA has a program called the Center for Development and Civil Engagement. It is the largest continuous program in the federal government for volunteer services, and we take care of that. We do a lot of volunteer work here at the new Lakeland VA outpatient clinic, which is really a nice place now. So.
And I will end this segment with one of my officers that couldn't be here was our Veteran Services Officer. He deals specifically with the veterans as far as when they get out of the service and they're trying to make, because there's a lot of them that need help with regards to their medical issues and their benefits and stuff. And we actually have one, they're a rare breed, but we actually have him as a member. He's our junior vice commandant. Now, understand one thing, everything that you just heard, if you didn't catch it or follow it, we started it from the youngest of our society, the kids, and it worked it up all the way up until, we got it to the scouting and everything, the Eagle Scouts and everything else, all the way to the adults. So we have got a very long reach out in the community. So the next time somebody says, "Do you ever hear of the Marine Corps League?" Now you can say, yeah, we kind of got an idea of what it's all about. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, we certainly appreciate this. This is we consider this to be a great honor, like I said before, because we all are Marines, and this is ultimately important to us. And we thank you.
Junior ROTC members as well. Come forward.
Let's go, ladies. You ladies stand up.
All right, I'm gonna ask you to look here first, and then we'll go over there.
Automatically.
All right, on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. One more. Right, don't move.
Okay, hang on.
Excellent.
All right, we have no developments of note. Commissioners, you have 2 sets of minutes.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
motion to approve the minutes of September 22nd, regular city commission meeting, as well as the October 8th city commission agenda review minutes.
Thank you. I'll close the commission meeting, open the public hearing. Anyone wishing to speak to any set of these minutes may do so at this time.
Good evening. I
Good
did
eve-
sign in.
I'm going to call you in a few minutes after we finish these.
I thought this was comments from the audience.
No, no, this is the minutes. We are approving the minutes. No, not yet. We opened the public hearing. On the minutes, yes. All right. I see no one that would like to speak to these minutes, so I close the public hearing, reopen the commission meeting. All those in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed by the same sign. Hearing none, motion carries. Now, comments from the audience. And first on the list is former city commissioner and mayor, Jeff Potter. Would you please come forward, state your name and address for the record, and you have 5 minutes.
I better start quick. Jeff Potter, 2 Twin Lane Northwest, Winter Haven, Florida. My comments are on the ad valorem taxes that our illustrious state legislature is trying to basically revamp, do away, or adjust it. I've looked at the numbers. We get $25 million from ad valorem. Our budget this year is, or for next year, is going to be 81 million. So I'm concerned that this commission is going to be ready for whatever comes their way. I know T. Michael's working hard on this, but I think that the amount of input from the community has been lacking totally. That's why I decided to come forward today, because I haven't heard anything from any commissioner on anything to do with the loss of or ad valorem. Now, my house, I get $1,300 a year, no big deal. But when you add all that together, that comes up to that $25 million, which is going to be 30. And that's a hole that you guys can't fill. And if you can fill it, I'd sure like to find out how. In the meantime, our state rep, John Albert, who is from Winter Haven, is on the committee that has been formed to address what they're bringing forward. And I challenge all you commissioners to put your pen to the paper and let these people in Tallahassee know what's at stake for what we have to do. It's so easy to say, oh, we can cover that. This is not one of those places. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next, we have Pat Johnson. Would you come forward, state your name and address for the record? Patricia Johnson?
Left.
Oh, she left. Oh, you said, oh, okay. I see her back there, so I know she didn't leave. Okay, you thought you had to sign in, right? All right. Okay, you good. I think, T. Michaels, would you want to just make a little brief statement as it relates to Mr. Potter's concern? Because we have, Mr. Potter, very much concerned about the proposed tax. I just want to let T give you a little snippet of what's been taking place.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll be happy to. Just a little insight, and appreciate Mayor Potter coming out tonight and staying engaged in certainly the property tax discussion. That's what we need, is people to be involved in that. I'm going to just correct a couple of the numbers real quick. So city ad valorem property taxes for fiscal year 26 total about $31 million. the operating budget in the general fund is just shy of $80 million. So pretty close there in those numbers. The ad valorem that comes from homesteaded properties, which is the point of discussion at the state legislature at this point in time, is about $10.5 million. And that's, that's 33% of our ad valorem take at the end of the day. And even if that's cut in half, it's still a significant impact. We communicate regularly that the cost of our services in police and fire total about $34 million a year. So ad valorem does not even cover the true expenses associated with just those emergency services. Last week or the week prior, the Speaker of the House produced a list of 8 different bills that were being proposed by members of the State House of Representatives Select Committee on Property Tax Reform. Within the language that was included in that, none of those property tax reform measures could impact schools. So schools are safe in all this. I will say it's kind of ironic that the one service that is essential from the state of Florida that affects local governments the most is the provision of school services, yet that's the one that's not being considered there. And then the other thing that came out of that was that you couldn't touch your law enforcement services. So the fact that you would have to make a cut to your budget, but you couldn't do anything that would necessarily impact law enforcement really handcuffs local jurisdictions. There is additional language that came out in another bill that we saw today from someone else in the House. The House and the Senate are not on the same page with this. This House and the Senate and the governor are not on the same page with this. There's a lot of infighting, and no one really knows what that's going to look like and what's going to make it to a ballot at the end of the day. Ultimately, whatever happens does have to go to a ballot because your property taxes and that legislation is part of the Constitution. And so it's going to come down to what happens when people go to the polls in November of 2026. Our efforts in this regard are quite simple: educate, 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 educate. So we spent the past 8 weeks thereabout with our city university team in really helping them understand and pushing them to be ambassadors for the issue. I can tell you that this will be a primary point of discussion for us at our State of the City address that will take place in mid-November, early November. And every chance we have to appear before citizen groups, it's not to, play Chicken Little and the sky is falling, but to educate people on what it actually costs to operate a municipality. And as my team has heard me say time and time again, that when Chief Monroe's staff go out and address a law enforcement issue because somebody called 911 and we came to their house, we don't finish up our work and hand them an invoice for our services. When the police or the fire department comes out to care for an ailing sick person or to put out the fires that we did over the weekend, we don't turn around and provide a bill of sale to the people who we just provided the service to. When our folks go to our parks, they're not paying a fee to go into the splash pad or to observe a water ski show at MLK Park. And along those same lines, when you drive on city local roads, there's not a toll booth that's saying this is your cost for that. You're paying for those things via what the property tax generates. And there's no plan that has come forward as of this point from the legislature for how do you offset the costs of those services without, you're taking revenue away, but you're not replacing it with anything. The stuff still costs the same. You're still going to spend what you spend for a police officer, a firefighter, a fire truck, to maintain a safe park. Those costs don't go away. If anything, what ends up happening when you don't have the resources to do it and you can't apply those lost revenues within the police department, you start diminishing services in all those other areas. And what makes Winter Haven such an amazing place to live is the quality of life that we're provided. We've seen time and time again through our community surveying, the areas that we score the highest are in public safety and in quality of life. And ironically, those are the things that are going to be potentially impacted significantly because of changes in property tax. So, Mr. Potter, again, I think for us, it's really, we've got to do an exceptional job of educating the public. And I tell two people and they tell two people and they tell two people, and we try and get that message out so that when people, if it does get to the ballot box, people go forth and they're educated on it. My position, I think that of the commission, I don't want to speak for the five of you, but it is simply that these are local matters that need to be decided by local people based upon local circumstances. In one community within this state, they may say we're paying too much and we have too much excess and we don't want to keep paying for that. And they have an opportunity to go to a budget hearing and to vote for elected officials locally to make those changes. In another commission chamber, you may have people coming forward and saying, we want to raise our property taxes because we need more, we need better services. That shouldn't be a one-size-fits-all dictated by the state legislature. So we've got a lot of education to do, and that's certainly the number one legislative priority for the commission going forward into the 26th Florida legislative session. And it's certainly the number one talking point for my administration and all of our staff and all the engagements that we have. And we'll continue to do that through every means possible. Educate, educate, educate. Ultimately, our position is we have espoused, as the commission has espoused, is it's what does the community want? But I think it's incumbent upon all of us to make sure that we understand that with what you want, you have to know what are the costs associated with that. And if what you want is to pay less in property taxes, there has to be an offset in what you're going to receive in terms of services for that. So I think that that's probably the best summary I could give. We're watching it closely. The bills are flying in on this matter, yet there's definitely some, I'd say some infighting or some disagreement within the various rooms of the state capitol, the House, the Senate, governor's office on what the ultimate solution needs to be.
And you didn't state that you actually addressed the committee.
And we did address sat before the House Select Committee on Property Tax Reform for about an hour and a half one Tuesday in early October, late September, to provide. We were one of 3 cities selected to provide testimony on this issue, and I think it was a strong message, but I don't know that it moved the needle that much. But the message was delivered and in factual form, and we'll continue to do that. And again, what the legislative body does on this matter really hinges upon what the voters do when it comes to their choice.
All right. Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
All right. We have no ordinances second reading. Commissioners, you have the consent agenda.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
motion to approve the consent agenda in its entirety.
Thank you. I will close the commission meeting, open the public hearing. Anyone wishing to speak to any item on the consent agenda may do so at this time. Seeing none, close the public hearing, reopen the commission meeting. All those in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye. Aye. Opposed by the same sign. Hearing none. The consent agenda is adopted in its entirety. We have no resolutions, no ordinances first reading, no new business. We're down to Commissioner liaison reports. Commissioner Musser.
Some of the things that I attended in the past 2 weeks was Leadership Winter Haven and the Florida League of Cities Policy Committee. I attended that in Orlando. Also, the Florida Federation of Garden Clubs district meeting, and the police and fire pension boards, both of those. It looks like they are doing very well. According to the reports that received. And then the Winter Haven High School Homecoming Parade. I think all of us walked in that, or for a while anyway, and rode, some of them rode.
All right, Tracy. Commissioner Dazzler.
Yes, homecoming parade. I won't say anything more about who walked and who didn't walk, but it was I've been on that, doing that thing for 13 years. That's the crowdest I've ever seen. So that was a very good crowd for the homecoming parade. I was happy to see. So we had our Urban Forest Advisory Board meeting, and Savannah is running that committee effectively. And we talked about how we're going to get 100,000 trees in the ground. And, but no, it's been a good, that's working like it's supposed to on how to enhance and improve our urban forest. I went to the employee health fair, and I want to congratulate T and whoever else actually pushes that. But that is a really good thing that we do for our employees. They take their blood, and you can go in there and you get your results. But then they have a big, huge thing where you can go and talk to people about high blood pressure, whatever, diabetes, whatever's on your plate. And I sat there and gave blood and did it myself, and it took probably 30 minutes, but everybody in there was laughing and having a good time and joking around. It was just a good experience for this health fair. So I applaud our leadership for putting that on, and I encourage our employees to take advantage of it because it's good. It's a good program. Polk Vision Board of Directors had a meeting over in Lakeland, and another said goodbye to those people. Good folks, good friends of mine over at the Polk Vision Board of Directors. And then last but not least, we don't have a leadership day at the field house. I think some of you guys were there. So, but that's it for me.
All right. Commissioner Dollison.
Good evening. I was really glad to see the Marines here today. Kind of brought back a memory. My father-in-law was a Montford Point Marine. And that may not mean much to a lot of people. And I'll be honest with you, I did not know much about it until just a couple of years ago. But he actually posthumously received the Congressional Medal. There were 20,000 men who joined the Marines. The Marines was the last to integrate in the early 1940s. And my father-in-law joined the Marines, and many of them served throughout. And it's just amazing. There are about only 8,000 that they've actually identified because the records actually were either lost or somehow destroyed. And so it's almost like a great community to come together and hear their stories and to remember those who served. So it was just an honor just to be able to be here tonight and be able to see them and see those men who served our great nation. I had the opportunity to Florida League of Cities, of course. I'm on the Intergovernmental Relations, Mobility, and Emergency Management. It was interesting because kind of narrowed down at least to a couple legislative issue priorities, but then there was an open discussion with a lot of concerns. And of course, Mayor Potter, you mentioned one of the major concerns that many are quite concerned about. And as you listen around the room, to me, it was just amazing that many are concerned about home rule and the direction that things are moving. But there was still yet hope in the room, and I was glad to be a part of the discussion. I was also a favor to be able to be there for the Culture Center, the new Cultural Center focus group. I've been a part of that group since it was established. And it's exciting to meet a new director of the Culture Center. Also looking at other pictures that we were able to see, just envisioning how the building will be utilized and the impact it will have in our community is truly amazing. Also was able to be a part of the high school homecoming parade. Certainly enjoyed that. Great attendance this year. I was told that certainly an improvement, particularly down here in City Hall area. The Garden Club, great event. It was kind of interesting. I guess knowing it was in October, but to walk in a room and see all these ladies in witches hats was quite amazing and interesting. But enjoyed that, as well as listening to the luncheon for the chamber. And our superintendent, does an amazing job, and I commended him. I've known all the superintendents for the last 30 years, those that were elected and those who were selected. And I commended him on the great job that he does, and some of the challenges we have to face as a community. And just good to know you got someone of his caliber that is concerned about all issues that are important to our youth and our children and their learning. Hands-on at the airport was really my first time attending. I'm not sure how long we've been doing this for a while, or is this 3 years? But this is my first opportunity to attend. And I want to say to the, outstanding job. I got to be honest with you, I was out there politicking. But in the process of that, I came out and it was just a great atmosphere. Even the adults were acting like kids and having a great time. But it was just wonderful to see the kids interacting with all the equipment and just showing them a lot of things with police and fire and everything else that was out there. Just a great entertainment. And they had a pretty good DJ out there, I must admit, too. I got to give him kudos. He kept the atmosphere, really, really moving well. So I appreciate him for that. In closing, I just want to say that many of you may know street preacher Anthony Lawrence. We call him Bishop Lawrence. And he's kind of I met him years ago, over 30 years ago, in fact. And from that, we became friends. And over the years, I have been involved in many social issues and challenges in our county. And Bishop Lawrence used to say to me, he said, Pastor, you know how straightforward he is. And he said, Pastor, he said, I'm not about that black and white stuff. And I told him, I understand, Bishop. I said, it's not about the black and white, it's about people. It's about people who are struggling on the margin, people who are challenged in our communities. It's an honor to sit here, but to know what it's like to sit out there. And I've got when I leave here in just a few minutes, I'll go to Hearst Chapel Church for a CPA, which is called the Community Problem Assembly. 20 years I've been going to those meetings. It's where we basically listen to people in our listening process to understand what concerns do you see in the community? What problems do you see in our community? One of them, of course, many of us are aware of, was mental health years ago, healthcare in general, youth arrests, adult arrests for minor offenses, down the line. All those issues we championed. One in particular that we may remember, of course, was housing and affordable housing in particular. That's where it came from. And 23 churches from across Polk County coming together, cross-cultural, ecumenical. It's not about black and white, as the bishop said, it's about people. And it's about people power to make change happen. And so I'm proud to be a part of that group and to be a part of this group as well, because we would challenge leaders. And our mayor here, when he was mayor, he knows we came to him and saying, we can do better. And in fact, he took us serious and said, y'all need to show up at the commission meeting. And we showed up and kept showing up. Yep. And something happened. And now Winter Haven is one of the leaders in that regard. And I'm proud of that fact. And so I want to say to all of us, our vote is our voice. And it's important that we exercise that franchise. There was a time in my ancestors, not so distant, history that did not have the right to vote. And that is a sacred privilege. And so I hope everyone will exercise that right and vote. Thank you very much.
Now, Pro Tem.
Thanks. Okay, so bear with me a couple of things tonight. So I'll first say I had an opportunity to take Brady out to Hands on Haven on Saturday. Wow, it had to be 1,000 people there. You're probably not giving. I probably just spoiled your thunder here, but there's probably had to be 1,000 people out there.
It was more than that.
I mean, it was just like nonstop. Like we couldn't even get some stamps at some of the stations. The lines were always like crazy long, but nobody was dissatisfied. Nobody was unhappy. Everyone was having a phenomenal time out there. Brady as well. And I have to say, when we went over to the fire department and he did the little course, and Chief Newbrand, who's not here this evening, but came over to me and said, wow, we got the best one out here, don't you think? I said, yeah, you guys are doing a great job. And I agreed with him, but then the police brought the canine out and did the canine demonstration. and like I don't know. So kind of got to be a little bit of a toss up there, but phenomenal job on every part, every staff member that participated and worked on a Saturday. Just wow, awesome. I enjoyed the homecoming parade walk. Enjoyed the full walk from the beginning to end. That was phenomenal. And I'll say, as again, we got towards the end, I've never seen, has to be, at least in the last 6 years, I have not seen that many people out there at a homecoming parade. And I love that, you so often you get complaints like, oh, you're not a small town anymore. You're not a hometown. That's monarchical stuff. I'll try. Anyways, it just there's nothing more small town than a homecoming parade. And those kids out there enjoyed that. And hopefully we get to do some more state championship parades here coming up. I think volleyball's getting real close. So, we'll see. But also attended the homecoming game. That was a full crowd out there. And also had the honor to attend the Winter Haven High School Hall of Fame induction ceremony Saturday night. And this was the second induction ceremony. And Coach Morrison was an inductee, and Jordan Schaefer from the Atlanta Braves was an inductee. And I'm going to miss the other people, but all those people were there when I was there, or came shortly after I was there. And just so many memories and so much pride to be a Blue Devil in this community over the past week or so with all the homecoming events. Sorry, let me get my notes here. Bear with me. Leadership Winter Haven City Day, attended that. Always great to attend that. Full class, great class again this year. Looked to be another best class ever. Just every single year it becomes the best class ever. So yeah. I also attended the chamber lunch. For all the haters out there, Fred Hyde is, wow. He is doing a phenomenal job with our school system. Nobody's going to get bat 1,000 on that, right? It's impossible. But for someone that can pivot and knows the direction that they want to take the system, and what you have to work with, he's doing a phenomenal job. And that was a great lunch to attend. I attended my first TDC meeting. Got elected and will follow in the footsteps of of Commissioner Dantzler as the chair of the Arts Committee with the TDC. So look forward to serving on that committee and serving on that board as well as we move forward. Talk about that. Okay. So last, I'll end on the property tax thing. So I'm on the Florida League of Cities Finance and Taxation Committee. And generally, there's always one committee every year that seems like that's the focus. They always have the key major point. And this year, it's definitely on the Finance and Taxation Committee. We voted. Many times you can vote. Let's go after 2 or 3 different initiatives. Not this year. We are only seeking to go after the initiative of property tax reform. And the points that I made is, really, and we had all the comments around the room, it's affordability. You're going to affect the affordability one way or the other. On home ownership, you're going to increase the affordability on home ownership if property tax goes away. But not every individual is ready for home ownership. You're not necessarily ready for home ownership right out of high school or right out of college or whatever your path may lead. And that means if you're renting, you're footing the bill on property taxes. And I told the committee, every municipality that was in the room, I said, I know us. I know what we're going to do. If you get rid of homestead property taxes, guess what? You're going to increase the fees on water. You're going to increase the fees on this or that. And then you're going to increase the non-ad valorem on non-homesteaded properties. And you're going to take a little bit and cost everybody a little bit more money. And the people that that affects is the lower socioeconomic individual that's just getting started, that's just getting the beginning. And so I think that's really the one of the main things that we have to continue to focus on. You know, it drives me nuts. The House seems like they just want to run with the Jell-O test, right? Here's 8 things. Let's throw them against the wall and see if they stick. And then you get the Speaker of the House saying, well, I believe the voters can do the right thing. Let's put them all on the ballot. Well, that means you don't have an answer for property taxes, right? I mean, there's no way you're going to put 8 things on the ballot and get 60% of the vote for one of those items. We don't know exactly what we're shooting at yet, because as City Manager T. Michael said, you know, the House has one philosophy, the Senate has another philosophy, and the governor certainly has another philosophy. And so I think it's a continuation of education within our communities, but also outside of our communities. If we have those opportunities, as T did, to sit on that committee in Tallahassee, as we go up to spend Polk County Days in Tallahassee here in a few months, we've got to continue to reinforce the issues and what the real cost is when it comes to the elimination of property taxes, whether that be on homesteaded properties or whether that be across the board. So your comments are heard, Mayor Potter, and obviously Mayor Potter's known me since I was probably 1 year old. So sorry to date you on that one, sir, but you know, we hear it loud and clear up here, and trust me, we're not sleeping on it. That's all I got.
All right. Okay, so I'll start with the homecoming parade, and I will concur with the comments that have been made. It's one of the largest crowds that I've seen, and I have been around for at least 10 years. So it's one of the largest crowds. And I wonder who didn't walk.
Did you enjoy your walk?
Who didn't walk? Who didn't walk?
I didn't see anything, sir.
But it was really nice. The Florida League of Cities Policy Committee, I'm on the Utilities and Natural Resources. And, you know, not only are we potentially faced with the tax issue, there are 2 other issues that have surfaced that the legislature has been pursuing that will have a tremendous budgetary impact on the city of Winter Haven, as it deals with the amount that we charge for our utility rates outside of the city limits. They want to limit that. I mean, if that one item, if that's changed, then the rate study that we just completed would have to be reinstituted because it was based on those rates. So we would have to go all the way back and spend more money to come up with a rate system that going forward that we could basically implement. That's number one. Number 2, the other thing that the other bill that has been proposed in previous legislative sessions has to do with not being able to transfer but X number of dollars out of your enterprise fund into the general fund. Well, if we can't transfer any monies out of the enterprise fund, then that means we've got another problem, budgetary problem. So, Mayor Potter, I mean, I've been around for 23 years. I've never seen it like this, ever. The attack on local government rule. I mean, I've never seen it like this. And if some of these things pass, I mean, we're going to be tremendously challenged. And I don't know what the answer is.
We voted them in. Vote them out.
Yeah, I agree. All right, so hands on Winter Haven, I've gone to those two. There were definitely more people than I'd ever seen out there. And it was such a beautiful day. The weather cooperated. It wasn't humid. And so, I mean, people just came out. In fact, I had 3 events that day. So I left there and I went downtown. There were a ton of people downtown. I'm saying, oh my goodness. Half of our residents out, no, but we had several thousand of people out. And then one of the final things I did, I went to Nikki's book signing at the library and supported some of the local writers. In fact, a young lady that used to work for me at the CDC as the secretary has written a book. And she was also a member, I think probably Reverend Dollison baptized her at First Missionary Baptist Church. And so I bought a few books and just supported the book signing. When I walked into the Florida Federation of Garden Clubs, one of the ladies said to me, she said, I bet you haven't seen this many witches in one place. I said, ooh, you said that I could never call all you women witches. And if I said it, y'all probably would hit me over the head with some of them broomstick. I will say witch hats that y'all had on, but it was a good event, and I thoroughly enjoyed being there. I always like going to the membership luncheon and the leadership to see, and I always have a little story to tell about leadership, because that's sort of where I launched my political career. I don't know, maybe I would have ran, I don't know, if I hadn't have been in that leadership for a whole year, and Mike Easterly had not been my roommate. And then Sam Killebrew was in my class, and they both were nudging me on, you need to get into the political arena. The one thing at the chamber event with Superintendent Hyde, he said we are now a B school county, which is really good. And it was sort of interesting, he was saying that what was the most challenging area was in mathematics and the way they teach algebra at the lower grades and then the higher grades. And so he asked the question, how many of you in the audience really had trouble with math? And a lot of people raised their hand. I didn't raise my hand. And I told him afterwards, I didn't raise my hand because in high school, I had no trouble with math. And in college, I had no trouble with math because I ended up teaching high school and junior high school mathematics for 4 years as a public school teacher. He said, oh, I did not know that. So we had a good little conversation.
Good job.
Lakes Advisory Committee met, and the only other thing is I went to the groundbreaking. This is historic. The Central Polk Parkway. The next leg is under construction. And so we did the groundbreaking for the leg that's going to go from where it ends in Winter Haven to Bartow at 60. And what I found out after that is that the planning is to bypass Lake Wells and go to Winter Haven, because there's some problem with Lake Wells. Don't want no involvement. I don't know what that's all about, but that was the first time that I had heard that. And then the interesting fact is that the completion date for the extension. And T. Michaels raised the question afterwards to me about the completion date, because he said, oh my goodness, that's going to take a long time. And so I went and asked the director of the Turnpike, and what she told me is that what they do is they get very conservative and they plan in hurricanes and rain and all of the delays and stuff, but the way it was moving, that they really were not just on schedule, they were a little bit ahead of schedule for where it was. So I said to her, I really wanted to be young enough to still drive on it when it's completed. And so she said, you will be able to. So they were talking about around 2037, was it, T? Was it
I
36?
think the section from 17 down to 60 was 2031.
31.
It was like a 6-year build. And then
Yeah.
the balance of the project on the east side of town is.
But that 31, she said it may end up being 2029, 2028. So
it sounds more
I'll
realistic.
still be driving during that time if I'm still here, hopefully. And then the final thing is I met with the MLK committee for planning the MLK festivities for the 2026. And probably one of the biggest discussion items was the timeline and the planning of the MLK luncheon. And so there was some great discussion about that. That's all I have. City Attorney?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Commission, I have nothing this evening. Is hello to former Mayor Potter, the audience. Thank you.
City Manager?
3 quick things, if I could, Mr. Mayor and Commissioners. First off, the health fair. Thank you for those comments, Commissioner Dancer. That is Sean Dykes, our HR director, and her team that make that happen with a lot of support from the other departments that you saw that day. Phenomenal event. Had a great turnout for that this year. So thank you for being a part of that. Hands on Haven. Appreciate all the phenomenal comments about that. Katrina Hill is the champion of that and takes the lead in making that happen. I want to make sure credit goes where credit is due, and with her team and a whole lot of help from other people, some that dressed up as traffic cones and traffic signals from what I understand. We had a slew of people out there that day to make that happen, and our staff loved doing that. That's a fun time to be at work. When you're out working with little kids and showing them what a vac truck is, it's a lot different than what we're usually normally using that vac truck for. And then the last thing, I sent some communication to you last week about Floridino's Restaurant. Remember, we had an update from, I think Chief Bird or Assistant City Manager Bird provided an update on code compliance stuff that was happening out there at Spring Haven or Spring Lake Square. One of the issues was Floridino's. That building came down last week. And I'm not exaggerating when I say this. I drove past the building at 10:30 that morning and the fence was up. And there wasn't a single piece of construction equipment on site. And I got a call 3 hours later that the building was completely on the ground. When I drove past it on Friday of last week, it is just nothing more than a cleaned concrete pad. So that happened very quickly. We're glad to see that. That's an eyesore. That's a code issue. That's a life safety issue that has been removed. And I'm sure that the people that we have heard from concerning that matter are equally proud to see that that's down. So With that, post-meeting this evening, Mr. Carnevale and I will head back to Tampa and finish out the next 2 days with 5,200 and some odd other city managers from around the world that have gathered in Tampa for the next few days.
Mr. Mayor, can I ask a question real quick?
Yes.
City manager. If you don't have the answer tonight, that's perfectly fine. But maybe we could get an update in an upcoming next meeting. The federal shutdown continues to loom on. Is there any impact that, what impacts can the city start feeling the longer this thing goes on? And again, if we want to do that next meeting, that's perfectly fine.
Well, I'll say this. So, certainly when we're dealing with federal grants, that comes into play. Some of those folks like FAA, we've had some communications with them as of late that some of the key people we're dealing with administratively are in office. When it comes to some of the grants that we have that are managed by HUD, it's touch and go. I don't think that those are in jeopardy in any way, but certainly it's just this disruption, this pause in the process. Those are the biggest things that we're seeing. I think there's the potential for some of our families locally, just as in every community that are involved in the federal government, to feel that pinch. There are federal government employees that reside here in Polk County, and so I think making sure that we have access or at least the information on resources to provide to them. But those are the primary things that I'm seeing at this point. There's not a whole lot beyond the coordination, and particularly in the federal grants. That's where that comes into play. But I think that's the most obvious at this point. I'll look to CJ. CJ, we don't have anything from a financial standpoint that's lagging in that arena. So,
thank you. Deputy City Manager.
I will add one item to the city manager's list. Quiet zones, something we've worked on for a while now. We were supposed to have an FRA, Federal Railroad Administration inspector, come out October 8th, which is one of the last check boxes we need to move that project forward. He is still furloughed. So, but we're on the list for when they do get back. But other than that, nothing to add.
So it's like it's this pause in the process. This pause in the process.
Yeah. City Clerk.
Yes, sir. So we have an election in about a week. So just bear with me while I go over a few things. So Election Day is next Tuesday, November 4th, as you all know. Mailers to registered voters with their specific polling locations were mailed out early last week. So most of you should have already received them in your homes. The last day to register to vote was October 6th. Last day to request a vote by mail ballot was October 23rd. Registered voters need to update their name or address with the supervisor of elections prior to Election Day. Early walk-in voting started today and continues until this Friday, October 31st. The hours are 8:30 a.m. until 4:30 p.m. And those locations are at the Polk County Supervisor of Elections Operations Center in Winter Haven, Polk County Supervisor of Elections Headquarters in Bartow, and the Polk County Government Center in Lakeland. Again, I know I mentioned this at a couple meetings ago. This year, there are 2 new polling locations. So Spring Haven Senior Living on Havendale is replacing Abiding Savior Church. Cypress Ridge Presbyterian Church is replacing Calvary Baptist. And on Election Day, the polls open from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. So all of this information is available on the city's website. There is also helpful information on the Polk County Supervisor of Elections website. And lastly, there is a logic and accuracy test of voting equipment tomorrow, October 28th at 10:30 a.m. at the Supervisor of Elections Operations Center in Winter Haven. All candidates were invited to attend. And of course, Mayor Pro Tem Yates agreed to attend to represent the canvassing board. And this advertisement for this meeting was prepared by the Elections Office per state statute. And that's all I have this evening.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
Sorry, can I ask the city clerk a question?
Yeah.
Yes.
So, number of phone calls on polling locations, it seems like, and we've had some switching arounds, and I guess I don't quite understand, and maybe it's a rule, maybe it's I don't know. I don't know the answer to this, and that's why I'm asking it. we have some phenomenal locations that are owned by the city of Winter Haven. Soon to be the Winter Haven Recreational Cultural Center, the Field House, Fire Station 3, soon to be Fire Station 5, potentially on Haven Hill Boulevard. So why can't we put the polling locations at these at city locations for not all like, other elections are handled by supervisor election. I get that. But for the city elections, why couldn't we use, Normeo Hall, the public library? More like, and that way you can have locations that are more constant, election after election. Is that possible? Is that something we can look into?
So I work with the elections office on these locations, like especially these new locations. They like for the polling locations to be a particular distance in certain quadrants of the city. So they can't be too close. They can't be too far away. So that's how we get to the ones that we get to. They provide a list to me of polling locations that they're familiar with. They work with them. They work well with them. And they provide them to me and basically say, hey, Vanessa, these are some polling locations that will work. Voters are familiar with them. It's not to say that in the future we can't use a city building that's in that same quadrant. That's something that I can look into, but that's why we got to where we're at.
It's not my decision. If the rest of the commission agrees, I just see that as somewhat of it. The current system is somewhat of an obstacle to get voters to the polls. Whereas if it's always at Fire Station 3 for Southeast Winter Haven and Normeo Hall for a central location and the Field House, and it just seems to me like that is more access for voters and a more because those they're not going anywhere, right? They're going to be there year after year, and you don't have to worry about, well, the church isn't going to participate in it this year, or no, we don't want to do it this year. You have to worry. You're always going to have. So I'd really like to see that happen if the rest of the commission agrees to that.
Yeah, I've always thought that's ideal. In a previous city I worked in, we used just city facilities. We did use the prior to it being called the Advent Field House, the Chain of Lakes. And then when all that construction happened, we had to move it to another location, which ended up being Southside Baptist. Right now, we only use one city facility, the Senior Center. And then the other 5, yes, we have to work with those facilities and hope everything goes good. We've had a really good relationship with the other locations, but that's something that we can look at in the future.
I thought you said that one of the driving factors, they wanted polling locations in different quadrants.
Yeah, that's why.
Of the city.
Mm-hmm.
And so you could look at that and see if we have a location in the different quadrants. And
if I could add a comment on that for what it's worth, we use the supervisor of elections past few years, or certainly the last midterm election utilized Normeo Hall not as a polling location, but as an early voting center, and a routine polling location for those elections and ours is the Senior Center. Those are right next door to each other. So having both of them doesn't make sense. There is the opportunity to utilize the Field House because it's a fair separation away. I would caution strongly against using fire stations as polling locations because the availability of space within those to do actual polling without disrupting our emergency services that we need to provide becomes a challenge. Same with an airport. When you open up a polling location, you pretty much shut down your operations of that facility. One of the biggest challenges we have is in that eastern part of the city, where you're dealing with our residents that reside in Cypresswood, out on the east end of Dundee Road, out into the Thompson Nursery Road, 653. We just don't have city facilities out there. And anytime you can utilize facilities that are being used during routine midterm elections, breeds a certain level of familiarity for the people that are voting there as well. And that's historically what we've been able to do. This year, unfortunately, we had a couple churches that said, no, we don't want to be used anymore. And that a lot of that has to deal with, the challenges that come with being a polling location, not only from the disruption, but also the attention it can draw to your facility that you may not want. So we continue to work with that and certainly try and make it as convenient for people in locations that are familiar, consistent, and easily accessible.
Yeah, and I thought about the fire station problem that you mentioned, but I also thought, gosh, I mean, it's just, they're not that big. So you don't get that many people, to the polls typically. But just an idea I just throw out there. I mean, it just seems like there's a lot of confusion out there this year. And, but if nobody else agrees, then that's fine.
For certain early voting, it was at Normal Hall.
I don't think we did Normal Hall this year for city elections. We did it for our midterms with the supervisor of election reserved that last year because they lost the Gil Jones campus.
Yeah, I'm just saying that's totally inconvenient, but, because there have been people complaining about the fact that being out there at the racetrack, it's not convenient to anybody. And consequently, it's kind of dead out there in terms of people going out that far. So that didn't help, If the goal is to encourage, and that's one of the things we talk about at the league, that the goal is, to make it accessible, easy for people to vote, not more difficult for them to vote.
Some of these places are kind of small, and parking would be an issue if you got a lot of people coming and going.
All right, well, we're not going to solve it tonight, that's for sure. But it's something that we can look at. Deputy City Clerk. Mr. Samuels, we'd like to welcome you, to see you back with us for at least a meeting. For those that don't know, Chris Samuels was an employee of the city of Winter Haven. So good to see you back. She retired. Emergency matters not received for this agenda. A motion to adjourn. We stand